Hello everyone, Max here with Fiction Rant, bringing you part 2 of my series discussing the Star Wars vs. Battlestar Galactica contest. This part will discuss how faster ships in each universe can move both at sublight and faster than light, or FTL, speeds. As a reminder from part 1, this is a comparison of the Star Wars Imperial Empire circa the Battle of Endor when it was at the height of its power, versus the 12 colonies of Kobol prior to them getting nuked into oblivion, and, in a parallel comparison, versus the Cylons, also immediately prior to nuking the 12 colonies of Kobol into oblivion. In this comparison, there's also a major factor that will need to be considered: acceleration. In many sci-fi universes, including Star Wars, there's a mythical MacGuffin called inertial dampers that allows people inside ships that are performing insane acceleration and maneuvers to survive doing so. In real life, and in Battlestar Galactica, there's no such thing, so there's only so much acceleration a person can tolerate before they either black out or die. On to the comparison. Star Wars likes being vague about things, so they don't really measure things in miles per hour or anything useful like that. No, they like to make up things, so there's the megalight unit to describe how fast their ships can move at sublight speeds. The TIE Interceptor can do 125 megalights, and a Imperial II Star Destroyer can do 60 megalight. This, of course, is completely meaningless on its own, but fortunately, fans have put their heads together to try to figure out what these numbers even mean. Estimates vary pretty wildly, from low estimates showing an X-Wing going about 360 kilometers per hour based on the video games, to high estimates of 2.5 million kilometers per hour based on approximations of how far away the strike force that blew up the first Death Star seemed to get before it could fire its super laser and, well, blow up. My preferred estimate is based on the assumption that 1 megalight is about 1/1,000,000th of a light year, making 1 megalight per hour equal to about 1,097 kilometers per hour, which in turn makes a TIE Interceptor capable of traveling at 137,000 kilometers per hour, and an Imperial Star Destroyer capable of going 65,000 kph. Unfortunately, this is only the first piece of the puzzle, since top speed in space is a weird thing to talk about anyway. What's much more important is acceleration, which should theoretically allow any ship to go as fast as they want as long as they keep applying thrust, at least until relativity starts weighing in. According to the fandom wiki, a TIE Interceptor can accelerate at 4,240 Gs, or, that is, 4,240 times gravity. For perspective, a fighter pilot can withstand about 9 G for a few seconds after years of training and conditioning, so those inertial dampers I mentioned earlier are doing work. This level of acceleration also means that a TIE Interceptor should be able to get to its maximum speed basically instantly, and turn on a dime without killing its pilot. Acceleration rates for capital ships aren't available, but suffice to say, they can't go as fast as fighters. Battlestar Galactica, on the other hand, is nice enough to use non-fiction units when describing its ships. Viper 2s, the fighters that we get to see the most in the series, are capable of accelerating at 7 G, with no listed top speed since, again, in space your top speed is limited by acceleration and time, not atmosphere. Fortunately for the Colonial Fleet, the fighters we'll actually be using for this comparison are actually Viper 7s, which are a lot faster, capable of accelerating at 9 G, but limited to 7 G to avoid killing their pilots. Unfortunately for the Colonial Fleet, this means that all their fighters are incredibly sluggish compared to any and all Imperial fighters. Battlestars, on the other hand, are basically immobile at sublight speeds. They just don't move much. Cylon Raiders fare slightly better than Vipers, but only because their pilots aren't puny humans. They can still only accelerate at 7 G, but at least they can keep that up for longer without killing their pilots. So, on to faster than light travel. Starting with Star Wars again, things are again badly explained, but what we do have are some demonstrations of how fast they can travel the galaxy. In Phantom Menace, for example, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Amidala, and crew travel from Naboo in the mid-rim to Tatooine in the outer rim to Coruscant in the galactic core in just a matter of days. For perspective, the Star Wars galaxy, according to Wikipedia, is about 100,000 to 120,000 light-years across, so to make a trip about half of that in, say, 10 days, they'd have to be traveling at about 20 million times the speed of light, according to some quick back-of-the-napkin math. The J-Type 327 Nubian Royal Starship that made this trip was using a Class 1.8 hyperdrive, and an Imperial 1 Star Destroyer uses a Class 2 hyperdrive, so they're at least similar in speed, though Star Destroyers are a little bit slower. I should clarify that the higher the number for a hyperdrive class, the slower the ship. A Class 10 hyperdrive would take 10 times as long to go the distance of a Class 1, and the Millennium Falcon with its Class 0.5 hyperdrive could make the trip in half the time as a Class 1. Battlestar Galactica utilizes a dimensional transport effect which allows their ships to instantly teleport interstellar distances. This distance is limited by what's referred to as a red line, beyond which jumping becomes extremely hazardous because you're basically jumping blind at that point and could run afoul of various navigational hazards, and possibly even get yourself lost, or just blown up. This is because the limitations on the jump are based on data and not actual speed. You could theoretically jump as far as you want, it would just be totally blind, so they're limited by the resolution of their sensors and the computational power of their ships because they need to be able to calculate, okay, we can see here's the positions of all these stars, here's the directions they're moving and how fast, so therefore, because this is so many light years away, our computers are going to extrapolate, okay, here's where all the stars actually are because light travels only so fast and so on. The typical jump drive utilized by the Colonial Fleet was the Epsilon class, which had a range of 25 light years. How long it would take to actually calculate such a jump isn't really explained by anything I could find, but it's established that the farther the jump, the longer the calculations takes, and there's more variables that get tacked on as the farther you want to go. Cylons are noted to be a lot better at performing FTL jumps than the Colonial Fleet. Their exact figures aren't available either, so far as I could find, but it was shown that a heavy raider could jump from the remnant fleet in the series back to the homeworld of Caprica in 10 jumps, where Galactica would need over 200 jumps to do the same thing. The FTL drive on the Galactica could only do 15 light years per jump, so we can do some math and figure that the Cylon Heavy Raider was capable of jumping at least 300 light years at a time, and base stars could presumably go even farther since they have more robust computational facilities. So, how does Battlestar Galactica compare to Star Wars? Well, for distances under 25 light years, pretty dang quick. Instantly jumping from one place to another within a given range is always faster than having to actually travel that distance in a straight line. At longer ranges, though, things change. If we set a destination at 1,000 light years and assume that calculating each 25 or 300 light year jump takes 2 hours to calculate, which is probably pretty generous considering the events of the show, but whatever. That would mean that a Battlestar could travel that distance in 40 hours, and a base star could do it in under 3 hours and 20 minutes. A Star Wars ship traveling at 20 million times the speed of light, as I calculated before, would be able to make the trip in about 2 hours, 20 minutes. To me, this means that a base star could approximately keep pace with an Imperial ship over really long distances, but that a Battlestar would quickly get left in the dust. So, what do you all think? Did I mess up with my math? Did I over or underrepresent anyone in the comparison? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, live long and prosper, and may the Force be with you.